The air in the room hung heavy, cold, and still, even as the armchair smoldered, a silent inferno consuming what was once a human form. No fireplace embers, no overturned candle, no electrical fault could explain the scene. This is the unsettling realm of spontaneous human combustion, a concept that defies logic, yet echoes through centuries of baffling accounts. Spontaneous human combustion, or SHC, stands as a pseudoscientific concept, describing the alleged phenomenon where a living human body ignites and burns without any apparent external source of ignition. Throughout history, in both documented incidents and literary depictions, the reported cases share an eerie constellation of common characteristics. Victims are often found in solitude, their bodies reduced to ash and bone fragments, while the immediate surroundings remain largely untouched, a testament to a fire both intense and strangely contained. A greasy, acrid residue often permeates the air, clinging to surfaces, a haunting signature of an impossible blaze. These are not mere accidents, but a profound challenge to our understanding of the natural world. One of the earliest and most vivid accounts comes from 1725 in Reims, France. A woman named Nicole Millet, known for her fondness for brandy, was found by her husband, Jean, reduced to a heap of ash and bone. The bed she had occupied was barely scorched, yet her body was almost entirely consumed. A lamp on the floor, seemingly the only potential ignition source, was intact, its oil unspilled. The official report, penned by the surgeon Claude-Nicolas Lucat, described the scene with an almost clinical horror. He noted the pervasive, greasy soot covering the walls and furniture, a detail that would recur in countless future reports. The sheer intensity of the burn, combined with its astonishing localization, left investigators bewildered. How could a human body generate such heat, yet leave its immediate environment so untouched? Decades later, in 1731, the same inexplicable phenomenon visited Countess Cornelia de Bandi Cessanate in Italy. Discovered by her maid, the Countess lay on the floor, her body burned almost completely to ashes, with only her lower legs and 3 fingers remaining. Her head, too, was largely untouched. The room, however, showed minimal damage. A nearby wooden table was scorched, but the bed she had been sleeping in was undisturbed. The floor beneath her body was blackened and greasy, but the rest of the dwelling was spared. Pope Benedict XIV, deeply intrigued, personally reviewed the case, finding himself confronted with an event that defied all rational explanation available at the time. The patterns were beginning to emerge: intense, localized destruction of the body, yet bafflingly little damage elsewhere. The 20th century, despite its advances in forensic science, offered no clear answers. On July 2, 1951, in St. Petersburg, Florida, the charred remains of Mary Reeser were discovered by her landlady. What the landlady found was a small pile of ashes, a shrunken skull, and a left foot still wearing its slipper, bizarrely intact. The armchair Reeser had been sitting in was largely destroyed, but the rest of the apartment suffered only light smoke damage. Plastic household items just feet away were unmelted. The temperature required to reduce a human body to such a state is typically thousands of degrees, yet the surrounding room showed no evidence of such infernal heat. It was cases like Mary Reeser's that prompted a more scientific, albeit still contested, explanation: the wick effect. This theory posits that the human body itself, particularly its subcutaneous fat, can act as a fuel source. Clothing, if ignited by a small external spark or ember, could then function like the wick of a candle. The fat would melt, soak into the clothing, and burn slowly, continuously, at a relatively low temperature but for an extended duration. This sustained, localized burn, fueled by the body's own reserves, could theoretically account for the near-complete destruction of the torso and head, while extremities that fall away from the burning core might be spared. It is a compelling argument, offering a mechanism for the seemingly impossible. Yet, the wick effect, while providing a plausible explanation for some incidents, struggles to account for every detail. Consider the case of John Bentley, a 92-year-old retired doctor, found dead in his home in Coudersport, Pennsylvania, on December 2, 1966. His body was found almost entirely consumed by fire. A neat hole burned through the floor beneath him, yet his pajamas and slippers were only partially scorched. Most baffling was the minimal damage to the rest of his bathroom. A stack of newspapers near his body was untouched. The calcination of his bones, a process requiring extreme heat, also raises questions. If the wick effect is a slow, relatively low-temperature burn, how could such bone destruction occur without incinerating the entire room? What happened next has never been satisfactorily explained. Skeptics argue that in every case, an external ignition source, however small, must have been present, even if overlooked. A dropped cigarette, a faulty electrical appliance, a spark from a fireplace. They point to the fact that laboratory experiments with animal carcasses do demonstrate the wick effect, showing that a body can indeed sustain a slow burn. However, these experiments require controlled conditions and a definite ignition. They do not replicate the spontaneous element, nor do they always produce the extreme bone calcination seen in certain human cases, where the skeleton is reduced to fine ash. The very notion of spontaneous combustion remains a point of deep contention. But the strangest part was still to come, or rather, the strangest aspects persist in the details that defy easy categorization. How does one explain the reports of sweet, acrid smell often preceding or accompanying these fires, a scent distinct from typical smoke? Or the specific pattern of destruction, where often the head and torso are consumed, yet extremities like hands or feet remain, sometimes with skin and tissue remarkably intact? If the body is a uniform fuel source, why the selective preservation? And what of the psychological impact on those who discover such scenes, often describing an uncanny silence, an absence of the roaring blaze one would expect from such devastation? The pseudoscientific label does not diminish the unsettling reality of these discoveries. For centuries, explanations have ranged from divine intervention to alcoholism, from static electricity to the highly speculative notion of internal chemical reactions within the body itself. While modern forensic science can often find a mundane explanation for many fires, the truly anomalous cases of alleged spontaneous human combustion continue to resist simple answers. The common characteristics, the lack of external ignition, the localized but intense destruction, the greasy residue, these are threads that weave through time, connecting disparate incidents across continents and centuries. They paint a picture of a phenomenon that, if real, operates by rules entirely unknown to us. We are left, then, with a profound paradox. The logical mind demands an external cause, a spark, a flame, a clear sequence of events. Yet, the evidence from these perplexing incidents often presents a scene devoid of such a clear origin. A human body, reduced to ash, in an otherwise largely unharmed room. It is a chilling tableau, a silent testament to a force that seems to violate the very laws of physics and biology we understand. Could there be a rare, unknown biological or chemical process capable of initiating such a fire from within? Or do these cases, despite their eerie similarities, merely represent a series of extremely rare and unfortunate accidents, where the true ignition source was simply overlooked, forever lost in the chaos of the burn? The mystery persists, flickering at the edges of our comprehension, asking us to consider if, sometimes, the impossible truly is real.